here's another question.
Okay.
Knowing that you have younger brothers, mostly younger brothers, one younger sister watching you, how has that changed how you might treat girls?
Well, I guess having brothers and having a sister help you see it from both angles. I guess just like anything else, I mean, I don't even know if I can so much claim virtue, but when you're being watched, you tend to be on your best behavior, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm being watched. So again, hopefully it would cause me to make better decisions. Also, okay, here's another practical way. I have a lot of brothers who are a lot like me who would see through me, right? So say there's a girl that I'm not really interested in, but like she's really good looking. So, you kind of want to get something going, even though well, I really shouldn't because there's nothing in it long term. Yeah. But hey, then again, she's awfully good looking. Well, when you're in a vacuum, it's probably easier to like justify it to yourself, make up some excuse. Right. If you're being watched, then I know everyone else will see it.
Yeah.
Because they know you.
Yeah.
And they know like, wait, like, I know he doesn't like her personality. Like, come on, who's he kidding?
I know. They know you too well.
Right,
oh,
right.
Man, yeah.
So
I've had that.
You have some accountability there.
Yeah.
And
another component of that is having a sister, because I have kind of an informal rule that do unto other girls as I would have a guy do unto my sister. So that really keeps me honest, because she's my little sister. I'm crazy about her, and I'm 13, 14 years older than she is, so she's definitely like my baby sister, sort of, even though she's of course an adult now. But anyway, I would think, well, like if I couldn't justify a guy, say, acting interested in her when he's not, I can't do that to a girl. So like, because I would get really mad at a guy if he, like, in a way, to use a football term, drew her off sides, like faked her out, and like because he wanted some attention from her. It was flattering. It would stroke his ego if he like had a conquest, even if he wasn't physically doing anything, just got her to fall in love with him.
Oh yeah.
And if he wasn't a serious buyer and broke her heart, I'd want to pummel the guy.
Yeah, of course.
So I think, okay, then I have to go and do the same, or go and not do the same in that case.
Yeah, that keeps you honest. And we've talked about that before, but in relationships, or when you're, okay, you and I have talked about this, like, of course you want to, the idea is to be marriage minded, right? Like, that's our starting point. That's my starting point. Right. The idea is to be, get married, stay married, be faithful in marriage, wait before marriage.
Right.
So then everything else kind of flows back from that.
Right.
I think sometimes Christians get a little sidetracked on like dating versus courting versus pursuing. Like you almost, I don't know.
It could just be a bunch of weird systems or something.
Yeah. Or it's sort of like, it reminds me of when like the government tries to implement a solution to solve something, but like it doesn't necessarily stop anything.
Yeah, right.
People are pretty smart. People find a way to like get around the tax code, so to speak.
Right. Yeah.
Well, so I think the main idea is just like, you have to be a serious buyer, right? And I kind of think of it also as like, hey, your actions should be, like the currency has to be backed by gold, so to speak. But, or like, don't write checks you can't cash. You could say lots of things.
What do you mean by that? I think I know what you mean, but.
Well, basically it's pretty simple. Like, don't act interested if you're not interested. Yeah. And just be honest. Just be honest with yourself.
Yeah, right.
And
that's tough.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And I guess a lot of times it's just long-term over short-term. Because everyone's human. Like, everyone would like to have a girlfriend right now, a boyfriend right now. But then you have to, I think where a lot of relationships get, a lot of bad relationships, I think the mistake is early on. The mistake is getting into the relationship.
Yeah.
People tend to think, oh man, like, we were together for 2 years and we had the bitter breakup, and that was the painful part, was the breakup, or
that was your mistake, sort of.
Yeah. Like, or that big argument we had.
Right.
That's when it blew up. But actually the mistake was when you built a house on land you didn't own, so to speak. Right.
I'm reminded, I never even saw the whole movie, but there's this action movie from the 80s, Cliffhanger.
Oh yeah.
I only saw the very beginning of it. But anyway, I think Sylvester Stallone, like, hanging upside down from a helicopter, I believe, standard.
Yeah,
Sylvester,
right.
That's like
standard action movie.
Any movie from the 80s or 90s. But anyway, I think he was holding a woman above a cliff, like stopping her from falling.
Yeah.
And they show, like, it's very dramatic. She's starting to slip, and then suddenly they show, I think in slow motion, but like suddenly there's just an inch gap between the two of them.
Between their hands, right?
Yeah, between
like
their
the
hands.
grip becomes relaxed.
And suddenly, you know, she's doomed.
Yeah.
Even though it's just an inch difference. Of course, she's doomed.
That's right.
And like, you know, there's that joke, someone's falling from a skyscraper and someone says, oh, something like, how are you doing? He says, oh, so far so good. But
You're right.
But anyway, you're right. Like, the mistake happened way before. The mistake was letting go of the truth.
Yeah.
And then, eventually you'll splat. But you don't blame the splat.
Right.
Yeah.
And you get caught. And what makes it real for me is you're going to be the one. Like, you can't really fool yourself. Or another way to say that is, I guess you're only fooling yourself. But you're going to be the one. If you get in a bad relationship, you're going to be the one to suffer, right?
Yeah.
For one, you can hurt her, of course.
Right.
You can hurt lots of things, but you're the one who's going to suffer. Like,
Right.
see, if you want to marry the right one, then of course dating the wrong one doesn't help you. It doesn't get you any closer.
Right. You can almost think that's in a perverse way. You think that's progress somehow. Like, well, at least I'm dating someone, right?
Right. At least I've had a girlfriend for 3 months. Like, I'm on my way.
Yeah.
But,
In fact, theoretically, that would put you behind, right? Because you have something from which to extricate yourself.
exactly.
In fact, also you have for those months you're involved in that, you have an occupied sign over you.
Exactly.
You know? Yeah.
Well, because hopefully you'll be honorable enough to not just be looking around while you're in a relationship, right? So
Yeah.
you're actually off the market for that time.
Good point.
Not to mention just any heartache or anything else that comes with
Right.
it. And again, I think people can mistake this. They can think that, a less mature Christian might think, oh, it's just always be more conservative. Like, take whatever the world does and be 10 times more conservative, or don't have any fun, or whatever it is.
Oh, sure.
It's really just being results-based.
Yeah.
And isn't it funny how people are, you want to be objective when it favors you. Like, if the bank teller is counting back your money, you scrutinize and watch closely.
Yeah.
But then when you're the one,
Right.
I don't even have to fish the analogy, you kind of get the idea.
I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's true. That's true.
So, like, how would you like if another thing is just do unto others? Like, say there's a girl, say there are 5 qualities I hope to have in a wife. Say a girl has 2 of them. And not only that, but I know she doesn't have the other 3 ones.
You could almost think, oh, I'm 40% of the way there.
Well, it kind of feels like that.
Yeah.
But sometimes you just know, like, hey, maybe like good looking, terrible personality, like, oh, maybe, hey, good, high achiever, oh, not so good in this way.
Whatever it is.
I pretty much know, like, no, I just know.
Yeah.
But it's tempting to, like, want to date her or, like, get somewhere, strike something
Yeah.
up. But then I think, well, in a way, that's kind of, how would you like if someone did that to you? That'd be kind of,
Yeah.
wouldn't that be kind of insulting?
Sure. Yeah.
Like, if a girl dated you for a while, and then later, when it didn't work out, she said, yeah, like, honestly, I never was that impressed by you. Like,
Yeah.
You know?
Sure. Or like she was just kind of selling you for scrap, sort of.
yeah, basically. Well,
Yeah.
because even the compliments would kind of ring hollow, right?
Yeah, right.
Because, like, what if she said to you, Mark, like, yeah, honestly, I was never that interested. Like, yeah, I just thought, you had a good sense of humor, but then you had some negatives too. Like, all in all, I mean, is it almost worse than not hearing anything?
Sure. I know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah, not that anyone says that part out loud.
Yeah,
but
right.
if you're
Sure.
honest about it.
Yeah. Well, another thing, having a sister has kept me honest because, kind of like you'll tell your kids not to do the thing you did when you were, they're on Back to the Future. She's telling her kids not to smoke, even though she smoked, and of course we all would want that for our kids. But anyway, if I'm telling my sister, oh, hey, be modest, or hey, you don't need to like be too forward or show offish or whatever. If I tell her that, and then I'm ignoring the modest girls and going after the girls who are being immodest and being show-offish, there's a better word for that, but whatever it is,
Sure.
showy maybe, then I'm contradicting myself. She'll say, oh, that's what guys say. But like, look, even a guy who believes this stuff can't keep his head.
Yes.
And like, hey, the way to actually win is to be more forward,
Well, of course.
So I have to, it's a tough standard then, isn't it?
No, it is, and that even affects things like media consumption, because I try to keep in mind, like, hey, whatever I consume, I'm basically voting for. Like, I want more of this.
Right.
So not even, of course, it goes without saying, like, avoiding things that are outright bad or polluting.
Right.
But even just things, say a Hollywood movie where one of the main attractions is, an immodestly dressed woman, which
It's always in the trailer too, isn't it? Yeah.
yeah.
In the explosions.
Yeah, that I know
Right.
those are the two pretty predictable things in
Yeah.
movies. Well, just again, like we're not, you know, you can have reasonable standards on what you watch, but sometimes I'll just if it too much emphasizes the things I disagree
Yeah.
with, and I think, well, I'm not really remaining neutral. Like if I buy a ticket to this or if I rent it,
Right.
I'm like voting. I'm
Right.
saying, hey, I actually want more of this.
Right. That's all they look for, really.
Right.
Yeah.
All they know is it's working, or if nothing else, they're getting away with that.
Right.
So again, it just keeps me basically just echoing what you said, or that for a number of reasons. But if you say, you know, you're tempted to get your head turned by a girl, you know, being immodest at the beach or whatever, then you think again, like, wait, again, you're sort of signaling, you're sort of punishing all the modest girls,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Because you're saying, yeah, you know,
Right.
you,
Because in a way they're being undersold. Mm-hmm. You know?
yeah.
If you, yeah, it's really not fair.
Yeah. Oh, and you also, this is a big one, I think, for many and women, but you tend to catch, like whatever you bait your hook for, you tend to catch,
Yeah,
right?
right.
So I think many and women, I think one of the biggest mistakes is you'll attract the wrong kind of person. So maybe maybe a less secure woman who thinks she has to, you know, appear shallow or be immodest to attract guys. She'll definitely get a certain amount of male attention. It'll tend not to be very good guys.
Right.
Then that reinforces it. That reinforces that, oh,
That's all guys want.
yeah, because obviously.
Right.
But she probably never realized, like, no, you're actually, you're
filtering.
Yeah, you're filtering. I wouldn't
Yeah.
even say turning off, but you're just like pre-selecting. The good guys aren't even
Right.
coming through.
Right.
In fact, you're like guaranteeing you won't get the good guys.
Right.
Yeah, it's not just a female thing or a modesty thing. Like that applies to men too. Like a bit. Sometimes we joke about like, hey, are you ever tempted to run to the center? Like
Right.
maybe you're around a more, you know, worldly group, and you think, hey, you know.
Yeah.
Everyone's doing this. Maybe everyone's using foul language.
Yeah.
You know, you're human enough to want to fit in.
Sure.
You think, hey, should I, you know, at least start leaning that way?
Yeah.
Sometimes what keeps me honest is like, hey, what if there's like a good, honorable girl here who's
Right.
looking for a good guy?
Yeah.
Maybe she would have liked me until she heard me talk.
Sure.
And I rolled myself out. Like, ironically, basically you can't please everyone.
Sure.
I think, wait, okay, I could run to the center. Yeah, maybe I'll pick up a girl that I'm not interested in. Maybe
Right.
I'll get her attention.
Sure.
Like, wait, and you really do have to decide.
You do. I know. I've had at times. I sometimes would feel sorry for a girl because in some cases I've even happened to know that the girl deep down wanted a more honorable guy, something more lasting, something that would, you know, not just like a quick sugar high sort of. And yet, I think she lost faith in that. So she baited her hook for the guys, the quick thrill guys, the guys who weren't very solid. And then suddenly someone comes along, a guy who is kind of long-term minded, like you, or maybe like me, and suddenly it's in a way too late. I'm not saying we people can't be forgiven or anything like that, but I'm just saying, like she shot herself in the foot. She's been filtering out the very guys she secretly wants because she didn't, in a way, have enough faith or guts to hang on to say, no, I'm going to hang on by faith that if such a guy exists, at least I'm not going to disqualify myself from him. Wouldn't that be a tragedy?
Oh, it would.
Yeah.
No, you can imagine that. And I guess that's what faith is. I mean, that's just a practical way of looking at it.
Yeah.
You have to sort of behave as if, like, you won't know. You have to. I always think of this. I think for the right. I hope this will be my story to meet the right girl, but I would hope that we were both thinking, okay, I'm just going to try to do the right thing. I'm not perfect, but I'm going to try to do the right thing, whether or not anyone notices, whether or not it pays off. And like the only way this is going to work is if she's also doing that.
Yeah. Right.
And mom and dad have used the description of, hey, instead of looking at each other, you'll both be looking to God, like sort of like. Both rockets are, you know, firing at the moon, you know, from different planets.
They'll get closer to each other. Yeah.
But you have to do that by faith,
Right.
Because you know.
Right.
Yeah, it would just be it would be a shame though. But I think so many people, and see, things of value cost something. Like everyone wants. I mean, I think everyone wants a happy relationship, right? I mean, who doesn't?
Right.
You don't have to be a Christian to want a happy marriage.
Yeah. Sure.
even.
Of course.
But it reminds me of like when I was little. This is probably pretty common. Like one week I might have thought, oh, I think I'll be a big league ball player when I grow up. Then maybe the next week I thought, no, I think I'll be an astronaut.
Yeah, right.
And then I think there was a time in my life where I thought, well, like maybe both, like maybe, you know.
In the off season.
Yeah, naturally.
Right.
And then probably what happens is you grow up and you realize, oh, it's really, really hard to be a big league ball player or an astronaut. Mm-hmm. So 99% of kids like me think, oh, well, it was just an idea. Like, I just thought it'd be kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and that's not a moral issue, but that's a thing where, well, I didn't really want to pay the price.
Right.
Like, I didn't really want to train in the gym for hours.
Right.
You know, I just wanted to do that.
Right.
I think that's how a lot of people approach relationships. They think, well, sure, I want a happy marriage and a functional family. I want a wife who loves me, and I want kids who respect me, and I want this. But then you only have a very vague plan of how you're going to get there.
Yeah, right.
And you might have a bunch of sort of terrible habits
right.
that, again, sort of guarantee that you aren't going to get there.
Yeah, right.
But then again, you might tend to blame it on the last thing. You might think, oh, well, I would have had a happy marriage, but then that person just turned out to be a big jerk or something.
Right.
And you might not.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
I do. If you think of it kind of like... it reminds me of that. Remember, we used to read the Hardy Boy books. Mm-hmm. The one time, Chet, their portly friend, had to transport a cake from one place to another.
Yeah,
He kept like taking little tastes along the way.
That's right. He kept justifying.
Yeah.
It. Like,
I'll have to skim a little from. I have to make it even and eat
that's right.
this half. You know, and before long, I think he'd eaten the entire thing.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's kind of how it is with people. Like where you're trying to give something of value to one person, to the right person, mm-hmm. but in a way you can't stand it. So you just say, well, I'll just a little icing here, a little icing there, and mm-hmm. give it away piece by piece. And then you realize suddenly then the person you want to give it to is there, and you just have like a few crumbs left.
Very true.
You know? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but you have to do that by faith.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like anything else, that's a perfect way to put it.
Yeah.
Just like spending your money or having a budget, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, true. Anything else on this? We've drifted all over the place, but...
Well, just what we say to each other, just be honest with yourself and do unto others. Or sometimes I have the test. Okay, say you have kind of a friend who's a girl, and you're close to her. You don't know how close you should be. A lot of times I'll just apply the common sense test. Like, hey, like you might think, oh no, she's not my girlfriend. She's just a super close friend who's a girl. Sometimes I'll kind of reverse engineer and say, okay, if I found out she had another friend who's a guy like me that she was this close to, would I think like, what? How could you?
Okay. So you're saying that's to argue for clarity in a relationship.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're not saying that men and women can't be friends.
No.
Because we have friends who are girls.
Oh,
it's
yeah,
all platonic.
of course.
Okay.
Just being honest with yourself. Again, I think to me, this is just to state the obvious, just part of being a responsible man, is like, don't try to get free samples. Don't try to cheat. Like, don't call it one thing. Like,
yeah, don't file it as something else other than it is.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. Like, don't tell other people that, oh no, she's not my girlfriend. She's just a friend who's a girl.
But you're trying to treat her like a girlfriend and get all the benefits of her being your girlfriend.
Yeah,
without
exactly.
committing, basically.
Yeah, like you're just trying to sort of take an extended test drive, so to speak.
Yeah, right.
And, I think just doesn't that seem kind of cheesy if you...
Sure. I think a lot of it starts with not being honest with yourself, though. Mm-hmm. Of course, you obviously can knowingly be dishonest with a girl.
Yeah.
But a lot of times, especially probably people listening to this, you at least have some basic things. You're of a lot of Christian men, in other words, who wouldn't feel right about out and out lying to a girl, might still be dishonest with themselves. Mm-hmm. That, hey, in their heart of hearts, they know that they are not wanting to start a relationship with this girl.
Yeah.
But they also really are hungry for a relationship right now, or maybe she's cute, or maybe you think you'd look better with a girl on your arm or something. So you kind of want it both ways.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And you might use the excuse like, well, like, I can't prove she's not the right one, right? You know? And sure, of course, when you're dating someone, you may not know she's the right one. I'm not saying you have to know someone's the right one before you advance a relationship. Yeah. But if in your heart of hearts, you're not a serious buyer. Right. There's a deal breaker in there. Well, yeah, and you still proceed. That seems pretty cheesy.
Well, sure. You've even said this before, but like, no, you don't have to know she's the right one. You just have to, you just have to not be sure that she's not the right one.
Yeah, right.
Right?
Yeah.
it's just someone who could conceivably be the right one.
Right.
So of course that rules out people like, okay, someone who's married is ruled out. Someone who isn't a Christian or someone who doesn't
Right.
agree with you on basic things.
Right.
If you're being honest with yourself, should be ruled out.
Sure, right.
And yeah.
But it's tough because I understand the temptation, you know, especially if you're waiting, you're hungry, you have an appetite. So even though if you know that that's not like the right meal, sort of,
of
it's
course.
tempting to snack.
Oh yeah, and I mean sometimes you just have to admit it. Like at times I would do that to myself. Like I would say, hey, wait, that's not fair. Like that guy has a really cute girlfriend, and like I don't have a girlfriend. And hey, wait, he's winning, isn't he? And then I would think, yeah, I can only spin that so many ways. Like yeah, right now, this moment, he is winning, I guess.
Uh-huh.
But like it's a short term versus a long term again. Like you might be even not for one. It goes without saying you shouldn't be doing anything immoral, but just even in another way, we use the analogy like, hey, you might be sort of like blowing through your savings, right? Like you're allowed to just, well, you know, Dad tells us the wilderness trip example.
Yeah.
Just in short, Dad took a trip in the wilderness.
He was a teenager, right?
Yeah, and a teenager. They just like turned you loose with a canoe for a week.
Up in Minnesota, I think.
Yeah, real remote area.
Yeah.
And they give a bunch of teenagers like a week's supply of food.
Oh yeah.
And say, okay, here you go. And
Yeah.
like, of course, no radio, no cell phone. Just
Yeah.
here you go. Well, Dad and his fellow teenage guys ate all the good stuff right away and probably ate way too much of it.
So that's relatable.
Yeah, I mean, you can just picture that's just so like human nature.
Yeah, especially teenage boys. Yeah.
But yeah, so I can just imagine, like, okay, say it's 7 days, like day 1, day 2, they each have 4,000 calories of good food.
Yeah.
Then they're trying to, basically the last so many days were miserable. They were just like trying to survive on vegetables or.
Right. When we were saying, I think, okay, well, it's good to define the goal ahead of time. That is if your goal is to have an exclusive relationship, a long-lasting, good relationship with one person, it might affect your decisions now. Yeah. Whereas if your goal is to, kind of flip from just one relationship to another, you may behave differently. You have to kind of decide ahead of time, I think, which one you're going for.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I think one component of that, I think there are two things. Well, I think there are at least three things you want to have a long-lasting relationship with one person. One is to find that person, okay? And that's not easy, and I can't say I'm the expert in that. But I think what gets neglected is sometimes we pour all of our energy into that instead of doing the two other branches. And one branch is defensive, actually. It's practicing the exclusivity now and behaving as if there's one right person.
True.
And so you're right. Like if you mentioned that it may not be any progress to get involved in a bunch of shaky relationships, that's actually counterproductive. If your goal is to be in one solid, lasting relationship,
that's right.
It doesn't help you to pile up a bunch of wrong answers. You can't like trade all of those in for one right answer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
In fact, you've probably developed some bad habits.
Yeah.
Like you maybe developed a habit of relationships not lasting that long, or maybe you can get along as long as everything's perfect, but then as soon as you have a disagreement, you don't know how to deal with it.
Right.
And it does change your behavior. Like if you know, I think it's just sort of enlightened self-interest. If you know that you're going to be, quote, stuck with whoever you marry for a long time, if you take your marriage vows seriously, sometimes I want to tell non-Christians, like, hey, if you believed in marriage as much as I did, if you planned on being as committed as I plan on being, you would turn into a pretty conservative person too.
Yeah.
Right?
Sure.
You'd be pretty conservative also.
Yeah.
If you're going, because I bet some people, if you could almost play a game with someone, you could say, imagine the person you're currently with, imagine being with them for 40 years.
Right.
So I remember once a girl telling me like, I can't stand my boyfriend. He's so immature. Like I couldn't imagine marrying him.
Yeah.
I just kind of thought, oh wow, like that's surprisingly.
Well, that might, if her goal was to get into a lasting relationship, it may not be helping her to,
Exactly.
go into something you know won't work out.
That's right. Isn't it funny? We were saying this a little earlier, but everyone congratulates you. Like if you get engaged,
right?
Everyone says congratulations. No one's doing quality control, right? They're taking your word for it and her word for it.
You're right. When we photograph weddings, so we've seen like behind the scenes of a lot of wedding days, and it occurred to me that, hey, like anyone could go buy the dress. I know exactly where you go to buy the dress, to rent the tux. I know how you can hire a photographer. You can pay an officiant to like say this is a beautiful day. We're here we are gathered at this glorious occasion.
That's right.
You can like basically pay hired, people to applaud for you basically without anyone making sure it's a good idea.
Right.
So that is not an accomplishment. Marrying the wrong person is not an accomplishment.
Very true.
And you're right. I recently met a girl who's a wonderful girl. She's really holding out for the right one. She's quite a catch, really. Just happens to not be the right one for me. And she's single. And I bet, well, in a way, I wanted to congratulate her because, hey, like, what's funny is if you rushed into a relationship because you just couldn't stand being single, everyone would congratulate you, like, like showing off the ring, setting a date and all that.
No.
That would not be an accomplishment. That'd be like whatever I don't know what the opposite word from congratulate is.
Yeah.
Lament, condole. I don't know what it is.
Right. It wouldn't be good.
Yeah. But I wanted to congratulate you, like, wow, you've successfully navigated the minefield without getting into bad, damaging relationships that would keep you from not being ready for the right guy if you met him.
That's right.
So that's an accomplishment. I think we neglect that. Of course, you have to find the right person or pray that God will lead you to the right person. And that we could talk about that branch another time. But people are sometimes ill-prepared. They spend all their resources on that, not realizing a big part of the battle is defensive in a way, like not getting snared by the tempting paths that don't lead anywhere.
That's right, because you're going to have to be exclusive in marriage anyway, so you might as well practice being exclusive now.
Yeah.
You're going to have to forsake all others then.
Yeah, right.
So,
yeah, one other component, I said that I offhand could think of 3 branches. One would be finding the right person. The other one would be, in a way, defending. I guess you could say it's defensive or practicing exclusivity. The other is making yourself the right person. That can sound a little puffy, like something you see like sewn into a sampler or something. Be the right person. But if you have a terrible product, it doesn't matter how much you spend on advertising.
yes.
So I've at times known people, and obviously we won't use specific examples because this isn't a positive thing, but people who are just not making themselves very appealing to the opposite sex, or just very appealing, especially to someone who would want a long-term relationship, like a solid long-term marriage. And they aren't doing anything to improve the product, but instead they're desperately trying to find more and more people. They're like giving out more business cards, even though they have a terrible business plan, basically.
Yeah.
And none of us knows exactly when we're going to meet the right one. But wouldn't it be terrible to meet the right one and not be the right one for him or her?
Yes.
To meet your ideal and then realize, oh wait, gosh, I'm not a good partner.
Exactly. Well, yeah, because that had me, maybe when I was a teenager, I remember one time just sort of almost daydreaming, like, oh, I wonder what my wife will be like. Oh, maybe she'll look like this. Maybe she'll have this good quality. Oh, I wonder where I'll meet her. And then it almost hit me that, hey, don't just look for the right one, be the right one.
Yeah.
And that in a very practical way, I realized, oh, wait, it's like one of those Christmas gift exchange. It's like one of those Christmas gift exchanges.
Yeah.
And you're going to be someone's gift in the exchange.
Yeah, right.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of a sobering thought.
Yeah, right.
Ta-da!
Here I am.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
So,
exactly.
So for one, just, of course, don't do any of it. Try to avoid the big mistakes, of course, but also just, hey, it's on you to get rid of an annoying habit that you have.
Sure.
Or if you have a bad temper, work on that now. If you're, out of shape, work on that now.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. Because otherwise you're going to it's going to become their problem too.
Sure.
And sort of the humble thing to do is to address it now.
I remember one time, I think it was on Valentine's Day. And I know Valentine's Day can really bug some single people. They call it Single Awareness Day, Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
It doesn't usually bug me, but this time it really bothered me for some reason. Like, oh, I'm single, I'm not in a relationship. And it was when I was trying to get my certification to be a court reporter. And I remember thinking, hey, since I haven't met the right one, this is probably actually, in a way, the most, maybe not in a way romantic, at least the most profitable thing I can do right now toward having a relationship, a good marriage that is making myself more ready. So I thought, hey, like by doing this, I'll have my career lined up. I'll have my certification out of the way. And maybe earlier that morning I like did a workout. I like went and worked out, maybe all alone. I don't know. Maybe I'm mixing days. But anyway, I realized, no, I'm improving the product. I pour more resources into making the product better, because you really can't hide a good product.
No, you
don't.
can't.
Yeah.
And you
can't sell a bad product.
No,
yeah.
and it should be the opposite of like trying, you think of a stereotypical used car salesman like you'd see in an old movie, like trying to sell you a lemon or something.
Yeah, right.
You shouldn't, like the idea isn't to like fool a girl into thinking that you're a good guy.
Yeah.
Like the idea is to hopefully actually be a good guy.
Yeah. I remember, this goes back a long time. This goes back 15 or 20 years. But I remember that at the time, whenever this was, the Miss Illinois, like the winner of the beauty pageant, or I guess it was beauty pageant, like some pageant for Illinois, was a conservative Christian, believer in abstinence and everything. And of course, she's still probably out of my league, but I was maybe like a 13-year-old, so she was definitely out of my league then. But anyway, the point being, I remember thinking, oh, like, hey, like, in her case, okay, she's attractive, she's successful, she has a lot going for her, but someone has to be a good fit for her, And let's say I just had fallen madly in love with her. One way to try to make it happen would be to harass her, to like stalk her, to try to put myself in her path so, we would meet one day. The other would be to make myself good enough so that I'm a good fit with her, if we ever did meet. By the way, I wasn't like in love with her or anything, but I just always kind of I've kept her in my mind, realizing, hey, wait a minute, that's one thing you can control. You cannot control who you're going to meet when necessarily, but you can control how good of a catch you are, and how much wealth you have to be able to spend to make the purchase.
Yeah.
So. And
then it'll literally pay dividends, or not literally.
Anything but literally.
It might literally pay dividends.
Okay.
But setting that aside.
Okay.
I don't like when people abuse the word literally.
Yeah, literally drives you crazy.
Well, no, you use the example of getting your court reporting certification while you wait for the right one. Well, for one, not only is that like the right thing to do, it is, be a better provider, but then when you do hopefully have the right girl when you're married, you can spend more time with her.
Yeah.
Because if you don't think ahead, say you meet the right girl and she even is going to take you as you are, she'll marry you. You say you hadn't improved yourself in that way yet. Well, then you probably then get serious. Like, oh, we're married now. We want a house. Oh, we want a decent house. Oh no, we might have kids. Then you might have to get serious. If you weren't until then. You might think, okay, get a job. Let's see, I don't have any skills. Okay, a low-paying job. Okay, maybe I can slowly start working my way up. Maybe I can go to night school.
Yeah.
Which is, hey, good move at that point. That's a responsible thing to do at that point. But wouldn't it be a shame to be married to the girl of your dreams and then have to work 3 jobs and never see her?
Well, sure.
Right?
Well, sure. Yeah, basically the point being, of course, none of us can predict how our lives are going to go, or you might have to go back to school or something. But basically, if you later try to add a foundation that you could have added, that wasn't fun. It was like the fun part was like nailing 2x4s together, and maybe you loved like hanging wallpaper. So, but
hey, it looks like a house.
But it's no fun like digging and pouring concrete.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, just in a very practical way, you can pay in advance, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, because if you had, like I've always admired this about Mom. She's had this standard that unless I really like something, I'm not going to buy it. I'm just going to save my money for things I really like. And there are enough of those in the world. So kind of like this, like, hey, I'm going to like save my money, literal money, but just time, energies, save it for a girl you really like, then you'll have more.
Also, see, the tricky thing is none of us guesses right, or very few of us guess right the first time. There have been girls I thought might be the right one. So I've maybe in good faith said, okay, I'm going to, see where this leads. I'm going to like get to know her a little better or something. And I don't regret that if that doesn't work out, because no one can guess in advance. But I also think that if you really don't have like probable cause, as they say, like if you don't have a really good reason, if it's just because you're hungry for a girlfriend, what you're doing is you're lowering your own credibility in a way. Because if one day you say to a girl, you're the one for me, but you've said that to 40 girls, it means a lot less, right?
Yeah.
So what you're doing is creating an advanced contrast.
Yeah, true.
By all of your no's, you're making the one yes really stand out.
That's right. There should be a big difference between the no's and the yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And again, I'll just say it again. If, it's not there's no virtue in like being right or always guessing right.
No,
of course.
It's not, you're not supposed to be paralyzed by indecision or something.
Oh, no,
that's not
of course
the idea.
not. No, but the point being is that that's progress too. Just like we said before, the defense you play is actually progress, because you don't realize you're like saving it all up. Like there's a bigger and bigger jackpot for the right one.
Well, yeah, and you could also, another way to look at it is you're working on your discernment. So instead of like you can make your mistakes in the simulator, right? Kind of like a pilot.
Yeah.
You can crash a plane in the simulator.
Yeah, right.
Right. So sometimes I try to now, while I have time, study girls, study myself, study girls, see, okay, that girl you thought was cute, do you still like her? Or now, as you know her more, do you like her now? Do you like everything about her? Because you can be wiser, you can be, hopefully that you'll be a much more accurate, you'll be, you'll be sort of, instead of the shotgun approach, you'll have the sniper approach, right? So instead of just like indiscriminately going after any girl who has any good quality, you can kind of observe, and then when you like make your choice and when you finally make a move, hopefully she also has high standards, and then it will mean something. Your yes will mean something.
Right.
Her yes will mean something.
Yeah.
So anyway.
I know. Imagine like if you went around just saying I love you to every girl, then you meet a girl you really do love. What are you going to say? Like, I love you, like underline it.
I super duper love you.
So, but the tricky thing is you have to pay in advance. You have to like build up the meaning in advance, and that does take some faith.
Yeah. And guys are watching. I would say to guys and girls, just remember, you're being watched, good or bad. I'm watching the girls. I'm sure girls watch us, and they watch your behavior. So like, if I want a girl, if I see a girl who's like, I don't know, you can just tell, like if maybe a girl is you see her being too flirty with guys she's not even interested in. You're not even trying to judge her, but just, okay, that's just how she behaves. Like, in other words, it doesn't take much. She's indiscriminate with her affections, right? Even just not in a terrible way, but just, okay, she just acts that way around all the guys. Then it doesn't mean as much if she acts that way around me, right? If she says yes to every date, then you can't be too flattered when she...
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, sure. We've all probably had people where you at first were flattered by something they said. Maybe they'll say like, wow, you look amazing when you walk in the door. And you think, oh, great. And then they also say like, wow, the sky is blue today. Like, wow, like,
Exactly.
Like, yeah. They say that to everyone who comes in the door, and then suddenly say, oh, okay, I see.
Yeah.
So, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So you get the idea.
Yeah. Was there a way to kind of sum it up? Or do we just like let the show end?
I don't know. We could just like let it end, unless I didn't. I think I said all my best stuff already.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you want it to be summed up, you could always like rewind a little and like skip ahead rather than us repeating it. I don't know.
Yeah. So like in conclusion.
In conclusion, go ahead.
Okay. Like basically what we said.
Yeah. That sums it up.
Yeah.
What we said.
Yeah. Until next time.